Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Low Budget Review Show. I am your host, Eric Smith, and today I'm talking about Deliverance by James Dickey. This particular edition is from Dell, and this is, I'm going to be lazy and read the back cover copy. Chilling in its violence, unforgettable in its impact, page by terrifying page. The tooth and claw survival novel of four adventurers who set out on a vacation to escape the confines of civilization, who pit themselves against the raging white waters of the Georgia Rapids and find themselves face to face with a hidden, primitive bloodlust and swept into a savage, unrelenting journey into the untamed heart of the American wilderness. So that's what it tells you on the back. There's your little nutshell. For the too long didn't watch, folks, I give this 3 out of 5. Maybe 3.5. Probably closer to 3.5. Not enough to round it up to 4. I liked this well enough. Now, this has been made into a very famous movie. 2 very famous scenes from this movie. And it's one of the reasons I read this right now as part of my little book bundle of movies or books that have been made into movies. I'm reading 5 books that I've not read before that have all been made into movies. I found this at Half Price Books, which is what gave me the idea for this little book bundle of reading. I've seen the movie, and of course, even before I'd seen the movie, I knew the 2 very famous scenes. As far as I can tell, the movie follows very, very closely to the book. I don't remember the movie all that well, but it seems to follow very closely to the book. I can't think of any major changes off the top of my head. The writing, first of all, the story is told by one of the 4 guys. You have these 4 white guys. They're all city dudes. They all have jobs. Our narrator, who I want to say his name is Ed. He works for a graphic design firm, I think it is, and one of the friends is a salesman. I don't remember what the other 2 do, but there's one named Lewis who is perfect physical specimen. He's all about being a man, being prepared. There's a point where he's talking about how he's got a bunker and all the survivalist stuff that he needs. And he feels that if there were an apocalypse, he and his family, he could take his family and survive. And so we meet these characters as they're planning this trip to go canoeing. And it's really all about how they are civilized city men, and they're going to go out and become real men in the wilderness. And so that's the vibe throughout the entire book. And the way that Ed narrates the story, it really drives this home over and over and over again. The differences between the city and the wilderness, and what it takes to survive in the wilderness. And you can't apply city rules and city life to the wilderness. And interestingly enough, if you didn't know the movie, if you didn't know anything about it, and you just read that back cover copy, you wouldn't know about the big thing. So for those who might not know, I'm not going to say what it is. But there is, as they're traveling, as they're canoeing, there is something that happens that changes their lives and changes this little adventure forever. Now, when I looked at this book, when I looked at the front cover, there's a little blurb right there on top, and it says, "Pure Adventure. The Extremities of Fear and Danger, an important book." I don't know how important it is. Might be a product of its time. But that first sentence, just 2 words, pure adventure. And I had to laugh because the first part of this book is Ed talking about city life, and he takes us through a day at his business. I would not call that pure adventure. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. He's setting things up. He's showing us what his life is like before it becomes what it will be. But pure adventure, no. We're following a guy around who's setting up layouts for ad copy, and but I don't know, unfortunately, if the impact of this book was lessened for me because I've seen the movie, because I know the story. Even if I hadn't seen the movie and simply knew, again, 2 very famous scenes, it is entirely possible that the impact was lessened for me because I am aware. And so if I had read this completely blind, not knowing anything at all about the story, is it possible my rating would be higher? I can't say. I can't pluck the knowledge, the previous knowledge, out of my head. It does really drive home this man versus wilderness narrative. There were points I started to feel it was a little repetitive. Kind of, yes, I get it. But that could be me, could be the mood I was in. It's not poorly written. It's the characters are interesting. If a little, white man, king of the world, but then that's how I think that's how these characters would be. We are middle class white men. We rule. We are the pinnacle. Everyone should bow down before us. Not that that would apply to anyone today, but so yeah, the characters are well written. The descriptions of the wilderness, of nature, of their adventures, of the rafting, all very well done. But it's really, it feels almost like a manifesto of sorts. The mountain man, the those sorts of what do you call it, where the city guys, especially like CEOs and stuff, do that weekend away where they do the shouting, screaming and baring their chest, and oh, look at me, I'm primitive man, I'm top of the world, those things that they do. That's not, they're not doing like a sponsored kind of, we paid for this, us and a group of people to go out with leaders that are taking us through these workshops and stuff, if you know what I'm talking about. But it has that feel of, we've come out here to be these types of primitive man. And this is all me dancing around, again, just in case there's anyone that doesn't know the big thing that happens in the book. I'm dancing around that. There absolutely is a point where something happens that changes their lives, changes this trip that they've gone on. And it does, from that point on, the tension builds and builds and builds. It's the tension in the earlier part of the book is man versus nature in a normal sense. Some city guys canoeing, there might be some whitewater rapids, and then after certain events, it becomes man versus nature versus a hardship that has been thrust upon them. I am really tap dancing around this. So anyway, all of that being said, Deliverance by James Dickey, 3 out of 5, 3.5 out of 5 stars for me. I liked it. I can't say I really liked it, but it's close. And again, I can't say whether or not that's affected by my pre-knowledge of the book, of the story. I may go back, maybe go back at some point and watch the movie again, now that I've read the book. But so many things I haven't read and haven't watched, not sure I'll go back and rewatch this. Can't say. So, recommendations based on this book. Robert B. Parker has a book called Wilderness, I believe. That is a really good book about survival. Some of these recommendations are a little spoilery for Deliverance if, again, you're one of those few people who doesn't know. Richard Matheson has a book called Hunted Past Reason, which I think is very good. Trying to think of like man versus nature type books, not in a supernatural way, although there are plenty of good ones that are like that. But I think we'll stick with Wilderness by Robert B. Parker and Hunted Past Reason by Richard Matheson as the two books that I would recommend if you're a fan of Deliverance. Excuse me. And then question for this video. Have you seen the movie Deliverance? What do you think of it? Have you read the book? What did you think of that? That's simple enough. The answer for me is yes, I've seen it. Yes, I've read it. I enjoy both well enough. I'm not a super fan of either. But there you have it. Let me know what you think, your thoughts, anything in the comments below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post spoiler warning. We try to be polite here at the Low Budget Review Show. Please like, share, and subscribe. All the usual YouTube stuff. If you'd care to follow me on other social media, I will put links for my Twitter, Instagram, and Bluesky in the description below. And that's all I have. This has been the Low Budget Review Show. I have been Eric Smith. And until next time, read more books.